Welcome to our YouTube channel Healthy Day and Night. This is your host Jenny. Today we would like to talk about MSM, an organic sulfur supplement. If you would like to support our new Healthy Day and Night YouTube channel, please subscribe and push the like button at the end of this video. We hope you enjoy this video and get the information about MSM you are searching for. MSM. Methylsulfonylmethane is organic sulfur. An underrated mineral. For good and balanced body health, our organism needs appropriate nutrients that cannot always be absorbed exclusively through food. This also includes MSM organic sulfur, which should not be underestimated in the body. MSM for food supplement. If you are interested in dietary supplements, sooner or later you will automatically come across the term MSM. What sounds cryptic at first is just the abbreviation for methylsulfonylmethane, which in turn is the chemical name for organic sulfur. More and more people are choosing to take an MSM supplement in capsule or powder form. Sulfur deficiency. Because although copper is found in many foods, a sulfur deficiency is more common than you might think. In this guide we would like to explain the importance of sulfur in the human body, how a deficiency occurs, and what you should consider when buying and taking an MSM product. What is MSM? The opinion that sulfur is harmful to the human body is still widespread, but it is simply wrong. The toxic sulfur that is produced by the exhaust gases from road traffic and industry is actually sulfur dioxide emissions. As acid rain, they pollute the environment and the ecosystem, but have nothing in common with organic sulfur or MSM. Methylsulfonylmethane, known as MSM, is rather a sulfur compound that occurs naturally in the human body, but also in animals and plants. About 0.2% of the human body consists of sulfur, which means that there is 5 times more sulfur than magnesium and even 40 times more sulfur than iron in our body. Accordingly, it also has some very important functions in the human body. In contrast to magnesium or iron, sulfur has not yet been adequately researched, which often makes it difficult to diagnose a sulfur deficiency. Organic sulfur is mainly ingested through fresh and unprocessed food, which includes fish, seafood, meat, fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, milk, tea, and coffee. The more sulfur-containing foods are processed, the lower the probability that sufficient sulfur can be absorbed naturally. The sulfur is usually completely destroyed by heating or boiling, and the absorption of organic sulfur exclusively through food is almost impossible. In industrialized countries in particular, this means that many people suffer from an often unnoticed sulfur deficiency. The importance of sulfur for the human body. The organic sulfur compound methylsulfonylmethane occurs in animals, plants, and humans. The body's own MSM is a building material of the structural protein collagen, which is an important component of numerous body structures. Sulfur occurs in high concentrations in the supporting and connective tissue, in the cartilage, in the bones, in the joints, in the tendons, as well as in the skin, hair, mucous membranes, and nails. If there are deficiency symptoms, the first symptoms usually appear in these areas as well, which can lead to severe impairments in everyday life. Many consumers do not know that sulfur is an essential mineral. Since our body cannot produce it itself, it is all the more important that we ingest it in sufficient quantities every day through our food. Our daily diet now has a lower nutrient content than the previous diet. Therefore, it makes sense to consider high-quality dietary supplements. What is MSM made of? MSM is nothing more than organic sulfur, which is biologically active in all living organisms. MSM can supply the human body with sulfur. Pure MSM is a white, crystalline, and odorless powder. It is easily soluble in hot water as well as in many other biological solvents. How is MSM different from DMSO? The natural, sulfur-containing substance MSM is closely related to dimethyl sulfoxide, also known as DMSO. Our body can form the sulfur compound MSM from DMSO. However, MSM and DSMO are not identical, even if both terms are often used as synonyms in English. DMSO differs from MSM mainly in that, after it has been absorbed in the organism, it is split into dimethyl sulfide on the one hand and methylsulfonylmethane on the other. The dimethyl sulfide, in turn, produces an extremely unpleasant odor of fish, which the people who have ingested it can detect both from the mouth and from other body pores. Even if DMSO is stored for a long time, dimethyl sulfide can form, which creates the smell, even if DMSO in its pure form is an odorless and colorless, clear liquid. However, the taste of DMSO is bitter. However, if you take MSM straight away, that annoying fishy odor will not develop, which is why most people choose to buy MSM as a dietary supplement. Sulfur is an essential part of hormones, enzymes, antioxidants, and amino acids like taurine or cysteine. Sulfur-containing amino acids, in combination with other amino acids, ensure that the body's own proteins can be formed. The structure of proteins and enzymes is also determined by the bond between two sulfur particles, the sulfur bridges. Although the production of proteins and enzymes is possible without sulfur bridges, the spatial structure is different, which leads to their biological inactivity. Organic sulfur also serves as a natural building material for collagen, which is responsible for a certain body stability. Without collagen, the production of connective tissue structures such as tendons, ligaments, or capsules would be severely impaired. If the body cannot be adequately supplied with organic sulfur naturally, for example through foods containing sulfur, the additional intake of MSM in the form of powder or capsules is recommended. In this way, the organism receives the necessary sulfur content. Isn't sulfur harmful to humans? There are still many people who assume that sulfur is poisonous or harmful to the human organism and therefore even try to avoid it. After all, they keep hearing in the news that sulfur dioxide emissions from industry and transport not only damage the ecosystem of lakes and forests, but are also harmful to buildings. In addition, the emissions have been shown to have a negative impact on human health, which is why we have been working on reducing them for years. However, organic sulfur has nothing in common with these harmful sulfur compounds, so that MSM preparations are not toxic either. Instead, they only supply the body with methylsulfonylmethane, a sulfur compound that is naturally present in the human organism anyway. In order to meet your own sulfur requirements purely through food, it is advisable to use only organically grown and unprocessed products. Seasonal foods straight from the farmer are particularly suitable here. The majority of these foods would also have to be consumed raw or should not have been heated to over 40 degrees Celsius. If you want to add organic sulfur to your body, you can switch to natural food supplements. There are many products here that are also ideal for vegans. When taking the vital mineral, there is hardly any overdose, as excess sulfur is excreted. It is important to ensure that you have an adequate intake of vitamin C and all other essential nutrients. This is the only way that all metabolic processes in the body can function optimally. How is MSM obtained and manufactured? MSM consists of sulfur and methyl groups. It occurs naturally in numerous animal and plant organisms and is found in fruits and vegetables, for example. This means that MSM is also part of the natural diet. Very high concentrations were found in cow's milk and coffee. However, extraction from natural raw materials is not economical. The effort involved in extracting organic sulfur from coffee or milk, for example, would simply be too great. In addition, a lot of coffee or milk would have to be used to produce only small amounts of MSM. That is why MSM, which is offered in capsule or powder form, is produced chemically. In this way, it is also possible to produce MSM with a purity of 99.96%, which has a melting point of 108.7 degrees Celsius. The ISO standard is taken into account during production and the GMP guidelines are used. Pure, synthetically manufactured MSM forms crystals that are odorless and externally resemble sugar or salt. What forms does MSM come in? Sulfur is found in almost all foods, but especially in foods that contain a lot of protein. This applies to milk, cheese, eggs, fish, and peanuts, for example. In addition, garlic, mustard, broccoli, dried fruits, cabbage, wine, and onions contain large amounts of sulfur. Normally, it is not a problem to meet the sulfur requirement through our food, which is why there are currently no specifications for the daily requirement. However, sulfur is extremely volatile and very sensitive to cold and heat. Because artificial fertilizers are increasingly being used in agriculture instead of manure, but also because of the heavy processing of food through heating and cooling, food is now much lower in sulfur than it used to be. Only very fresh, unprocessed foods such as fruit and vegetables from the region still contain a lot of sulfur. In addition, the sulfur content decreases with age. For these reasons, it is often advisable to take an MSM supplement in addition to meet the sulfur requirement. MSM food supplements are offered in capsule and powder form. Powder has the advantage that it is easier to dose, which is useful if you want to start with low doses, for example. However, capsules are easier to take because they are simply swallowed with a little water and do not have to be laboriously dissolved. In the end, however, it is also a question of your personal preferences whether you choose capsules or powder. Compare the concentration of MSM and make sure that no additives such as sweeteners, glutamate, colorings or flavorings have been added to the dietary supplement. Why is lack of sulfur widespread? As mentioned at the beginning, natural food contains certain amounts of sulfur. Nevertheless, quite a few people today are affected by a sulfur deficiency. This is simply due to the fact that industrial agriculture, like the modern form of nutrition, contributes to the fact that the consumer only receives small amounts of sulfur in the end. Farmers used to fertilize with manure. As a result, the soil was automatically enriched with large amounts of natural sulfur. For several decades, however, mainly artificial fertilizers have been used. As a result, the sulfur content in the earth is decreasing, so that foods such as fruit and vegetables also contain less and less sulfur. Another problem is that sulfur, like many enzymes and vitamins, is very sensitive to cold and heat. As soon as you fry, grill, boil, bake or otherwise heat food, the sulfur content drops. The same applies if food is stored in the refrigerator or in the freezer. Furthermore, the storage, drying and any kind of processing of food lead to a decrease in the sulfur content. A good supply of sulfur can therefore only be ensured if you consume fresh, briefly stored and raw foods. If you take in too little sulfur from your diet over the years, this ultimately leads to a chronic sulfur deficiency. This can lead to all sorts of symptoms, making it difficult for both sufferers and doctors to pinpoint the cause of the problem. What type of taking is useful? Even with a very balanced and healthy diet and a lot of exercise, it is not always possible to supply the body with all the important nutrients, vitamins, and minerals it absolutely needs. In order to give your body the best possible support in absorbing organic sulfur, you are therefore well advised to use MSM food supplements. They are optionally available as powder or capsules, whereby the capsules are more suitable from our point of view. Depending on the product, it is enough to take 2 capsules a day to meet the sulfur requirements of an adult. Of course, you can also try to get enough organic sulfur through your diet. However, in the stress of everyday life, it is sometimes difficult to keep an eye on your own eating habits and to make sure that you are getting all the important vital substances. With MSM capsules, you contribute to providing your body with the optimal amount of organic sulfur. Compared to powder, the capsules have the advantage that they are also suitable for taking on the go, because it is not necessary to first dissolve them in water. Buying MSM capsules. What to watch out for. If you are looking to buy MSM capsules, there are a few points to look out for. For example, it is important that the MSM is as pure as possible and free of other substances. Read the product description or the packaging, because the degree of purity is usually specified. Also make sure that no additives are included. With MSM powder in particular, it sometimes happens that substances are added to prevent clumping. These synthetic agents could affect the effectiveness of the organic sulfur. Colorings, preservatives, or flavor enhancers also have no place in the dietary supplement. Special cleaning processes during production should ensure that the MSM capsules do not contain any harmful substances such as heavy metals. When you look at the product description, pay attention to the information without additives, because it is a good indication that the MSM product does not contain any unnecessary substances. Also take a look at the dosage recommendation. Thanks to it, different preparations can be compared with one another, because the fewer capsules you have to take per day, the higher the dose of MSM per capsule is usually. Sport and exercise. Support the exercise apparatus. Joint discomfort is one of the problems that can arise when there is a lack of sulfur. Not only a healthy diet supports the musculoskeletal system, sport and exercise are also very important. Overweight, improper stress, and signs of wear and tear can lead to joint, muscle, and bone problems. In any case, it makes sense to check your own diet for any deficiencies, reduce any excess weight, and do more sport. For this, join gentle sports such as swimming, cycling, gymnastics, and light equipment training come into question. In this way you can build muscle and help keep your musculoskeletal system healthy. With a conscious diet, you also ensure that the body is supplied with all the important nutrients it needs to maintain and build up cartilage, joints, and connective tissue. Conclusion. So all in all, we can say that sulfur deficiency is more common these days than most people assume. This is simply because sulfur is very sensitive to heat, cold, and long storage. In addition, the sulfur content of our food is falling due to the heavy industrial processing of food and the increasing use of fertilizers. It is therefore advisable, especially for vegetarians, vegans, the chronically ill, and the elderly, to improve the absorption of organic sulfur by taking MSM. MSM capsules are best for this purpose because they are easy to dose and use. This was your host Jenny during this video. If you would like to support our new Healthy Day and Night YouTube channel, please subscribe and push the like button at the end of this video. We hope you enjoyed this video and got the information you are searching for. I wish you health day and night.